Welcome to Personality Speaking, where the tea is always hot. My name is Karen Ward. I'm the Advanced Certified Personality Trainer and Speaker. I am a personality coach and the author of the book, Coupled for Life, Overcoming Personality Differences in Marriage. All of us need a little bit of help in our marriage, y'all.
Yes, indeed.
I am so excited that our show is airing every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it is live. And so we're going to answer your questions and respond to your comments as you leave them in the chat. Additionally, our show is focused on helping you build healthier, stronger relationships through the understanding of the personalities. Tonight's show is going to talk about navigating personalities in a blended family. Hallelujah. If y'all have a blended family, this is going to be a hot topic. If you have questions, make sure you put it in the chat. But we're trying to help you to build your stronger relationships no matter what. So a blended family, we need strong relationships. Hallelujah. All right. You're going to hear terms like sanguine and choleric, melancholy, and phlegmatic. Those are personality styles. To learn more about them, you can either listen to my first podcast, or you can go to my website, Beyond, BEYOND, 2 TWO LLC. That's beyond2llc.com. And you can learn more about the personalities. Now, this particular YouTube show, we're going to talk to my friends, my friend and maybe my friends, about blended families. We're going to do a deep dive into intricate dynamics of blended families, exploring the fascinating world of personalities, which I bring to the table, that shape our households. Discover invaluable insights, practical strategies, and heartwarming stories that will empower and guide you in creating harmony, understanding, and unity within your blended family. Get ready for some eye-opening discussions, my friend, her expert advice, and a transformative journey that will navigate you through the blended family's beautiful tapestry of the personalities. I need to introduce you to my sister girlfriend who's part of the dynamic duo of Meet the Smiths. Meet the Smiths are global speakers. They're certified family life educators through the National Alliance for Relationship and Marriage Education. They're also certified through the North American Division of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. They are premarital and marital counselors. The Smiths are authors with three published books.
Four now. Four.
Okay. Four. Oh, because that's the new book.
Yes.
Okay. 4 published books. I love it. They're speakers, they're coaches, but Ed and Debbie also travel globally to facilitate workshops, retreats, and conferences because of their passion to see families thrive. That's my passion too, Deb.
Yep.
Ed and Debbie are best friends.
We are.
They enjoy meeting and connecting with others and truly believe that the key to success lies within one's ability to build and maintain healthy relationships. They are enthusiastic about helping others become relationship strong.
Yes.
Welcome, my sister, Debbie Smith.
Hello, my sister. How are you?
I'm so glad you came to join us today. We're going to talk about some fun stuff today, which is really talking about the joys, talking about the triumphs, and talking about the challenges of a blended family. Mm-hmm. So let's get started. The first thing I want to ask you is, how would you define a blended family? Because, maybe some people don't really know what a blended family is.
Yeah. So, simply put, a blended family is when two mature adults, because you got to be mature to get into this thing, right? two mature adults come together and bring children from a previous relationship. So, whether it's the husband or the wife, you come into a new relationship with children from a previous relationship.
Okay.
Yeah,
And so that's the whole blending part. You're trying to blend two different old households to a
correct.
brand new household
Brand new households. Yes.
and make it work.
And make it work. And let me tell you, it doesn't always look like the Brady Bunch, right? I used to watch the Brady
Me
Bunch
too.
as a kid and I enjoyed that show. It doesn't always look like that.
No, usually it does not look like that. And the interesting thing is I want you to talk about your family dynamic, but I want to find out first of all how you and Ed met and fell in love and how you got to be a blended family. So why don't you start us out telling us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Ed and I have a pretty unique love story. I've known Ed since I was about 13 years old. Um, Ed is older than I am. And so in my church, there's always like, you have your youth. So these were like your young adults. They had cars and they hung out together on the weekend. And then you had the younger youth who were waiting patiently to get to that older youth status. And so Ed was in that older group. I was in the younger group. But I was a pretty rebellious teenager, I would say.
Mm.
And Ed is one of those people who always just spoke life into me, encouraged me, to not be disrespectful to my parents and to, not be so rebellious and not give trouble during youth choir practice. Like he was always there just trying to help to straighten me up.
Wait a minute. You're trying to tell me that you were rebellious?
Girl,
I
listen,
don't know this, Debbie.
the stories I could tell. And so that's where Ed and I initially met.
Mhm.
And I think as I grew older and came into myself, I definitely saw something in him. And I thought he smelled really good, he dressed really nice, and I just really admired that. But I never envisioned myself in a romantic relationship with him, right? And so life happened. I had a child, and then I married my child's father, and then we had another child, and then we moved actually to Maryland. We were there for about 3 years. I had another child while I was in Maryland, but the marriage just didn't work. It didn't work for a number of reasons. One, I was super young. Um, very young. I was mature in some ways, but immature in other ways.
Mm.
So when the marriage fell apart, I decided to go back to my comfort place, which is Jersey. That's where my parents are, my sister. And so I moved back to Jersey, started going back to my old church. And who was there but Mr. Ed himself? And so that's how Ed and I reconnected. I remember he saw me and he was like, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "Well, I moved back." And so he gave me his phone number and he was like, "Oh, call me." But I was in a space where I just needed to process what I was going through.
Yeah.
I felt like a failure. So
Mm.
I had to kind of take a pause from everything and everybody and just kind of rebuild myself. And so it took me months to call him. So then I saw him again a few months later and he's like, you haven't called me. And I was like, oh, truth be told, I lost your number. So he gave me his number again. And then finally, several months later, I called him.
Wait a minute. So you ran into him again and you still waited several more months to call him.
Several more months, Karen. Because honestly, like I said, I think I was in a place of um, just embarrassment, not feeling great about
Oh
myself.
yeah.
So you kind of go through a period where you're hiding. Like I don't want anyone to ask me any questions. I just needed to be with me, and of course the kids. And so I eventually called him, and we just started having these conversations, just catching up on life. And he was actually going through a separation and a divorce himself at that time.
Mm.
And so we just really became began to lean on each other just through the process. I had never gone through that before. I didn't know what to expect. It was
Yeah.
a really, really tough time. And so that friendship, before I knew it, grew into something else. Um,
So wait a minute, I want to pause on that for a quick second
yep.
because I want to know what drew you to him because this show is about personalities and relationships. So I want to know what personality traits drew you to Ed.
Yeah. So because I had known him, I
Hmm.
knew him. I knew his character. So I knew the type of person that he was. But Ed was also this fun guy. Like he is fun. He wants to make you laugh all the time. And so I think I needed that. So after that period of kind of just being to myself and feeling like a failure, I think
Mm.
I needed somebody who just brought that joy. Um,
Yes.
that laughter. And so that's part of what drew me to him. And so yeah, so that friendship turned into something amazing. And
Hmm.
after about 3 years, we decided, hey, we're not getting any younger. We know what marriage looks like. We know what we don't want in a marriage. Let's go ahead and do this thing. And so we did. And here we are. Actually, next week, in 7 days, it'll be 16 years of marriage.
Wow. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I too have a blended family. So my husband and I have been together, it will be 29 years this year.
Wow.
And it's his, hers, and ours. He had one, I had one, through previous relationships.
Mhm.
And then we had her, our last one, together. And they argue about which one is the best, the first or the last, the girls. But yeah, so I understand that. So, what do you? We had Ed on the show a couple of weeks ago,
Mhm.
talking about becoming a better you. And so he talked about the things that drew him to you
Mhm.
and your personality. So I guess the next question I have is you have three children and
Yep.
they are what? Girls or boys? What?
So, two girls and a boy. The boy is the baby. He just turned 20 in April,
Wow.
and just completed his second year of college. My middle girl is 23. She'll be 24 in October. Um, and my oldest girl is 27. She'll be 28 in September. And so they're
Wow.
all about 4 years apart. Two girls and a boy. And then Ed has an older daughter from a previous relationship, but she lives in Jamaica. So she was not really part of the blend because she wasn't in the household. So
So that's interesting. So I want to also, there's a great comment by the way. You can tell Ed that somebody loved the episode that he was in and they think we need a part two of it.
oh, I listen, and and I'm glad she even said that because Ed and I, you will hardly ever see us doing these things without the other. We do it together, and so
Yeah.
him being on by himself was weird for him, and me being here by myself is weird for me. But sometimes we have to be in two places at
Yeah.
the same time, so we got to divide and conquer. So,
Gotta do what you gotta do,
yes,
right?
but believe me, sweet foxy soul, we'll be back.
So let me ask you this question. Looking at your children, what are their personality dynamics? Are they extroverts, introverts? Give me a little bit about that and about you and Ed so that the audience will know who didn't make it on the show with Ed.
Yes. So Ed will like to tell people that he's shy. That man is not shy. He is absolutely an extrovert, okay? He can, and I'm an introvert. I speak for a living, so I teach, I facilitate, I do that all day. And when I get home, believe me, the last thing I want to do is talk. But that man of mine, oh yeah,
You can keep it going, huh?
he will keep it going. And so he's a talker. And I think when it comes to the kids, it's so interesting because I'm still trying to figure them out.
Yeah.
They are, I think they definitely have that part of me that can just be alone,
Yeah.
watch a movie, read a book, and not interact with people. Like they definitely have that. But then there's also that side of them that's very social, but they're very social with people that they've come to know.
Oh, okay. I have
None,
the answer. I have the
none
answer
of my
for you.
kids like to like go out and meet new people, but they will hang out with their crew, their
Crew.
yes.
So let
That
me tell you, they're introverts, probably both introverted personality styles. Are melancholy phlegmatic or phlegmatic melancholy. Phlegmatics are social, but within smaller groups and people they trust. Melancholies don't trust many people, so it has to be in a group that they trust and they want to be around. So it sounds like they're both that. You are definitely a melancholy, smart, intelligent, compassionate. So many of the wonderful melancholy traits. That Ed, he is an extrovert. He better stop playing.
is.
But he
And
might be one of each too. You know
yeah,
what I
and you
mean?
know what? And you know what? He definitely gets energy from people, right?
Yeah,
And so
yeah,
that's one of the things that I know about extroverts. Ed will light up when people come around. He wants to know who's gonna be there. Who am I
yeah,
gonna see when I get there? And when he sees you, he's just like, ah. And me, I'm kind of like, okay, I see you. Hey, but
yeah.
he craves that interaction. Well,
Absolutely.
well, thank you. She said I look 30.
She
Thank
said you're
you.
looking 30 yourself, girl.
Thank you. I will take it.
Well, this is interesting too, because the I want people to understand that you can be one introverted personality style and one extroverted personality style. We all have a primary personality style
Mhm,
and a secondary. And so you could be one extroverted personality style and an introverted. So there are times when he's on 100%, and there's
mhm.
times when he's by himself. But you can tell he's definitely a choleric melancholy or a melancholy choleric. The choleric is social, but for a reason. Like they're
Mhm.
social because it
Yeah,
makes sense to be social.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But the melancholy in him, that brother is put together.
You know it. And you know
Put
what?
together.
And I have to share this. And probably when he watches this back, he's gonna be like, "Why did you?" You know. But Ed need he what he's gonna put on his body
Hmm.
just matters.
Yeah.
So if we have a speaking engagement, if we're going somewhere, and he's like, "Babe, what are you wearing?" I'm like, I don't know. Like, that's my answer every single time. Just last week, he said, one of these days, I want to ask you that, and I want you to have an answer prepared. And I'm just like, dude, okay. But like you said, that melancholy part of his
Yeah.
personality, what he looks like and how he shows up just matters.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he always wants to look his best. He wants, to let people know, hey, I took time to put this thing together because
Exactly.
the way that I show up in front of you matters. And so he has gotten me into a space now where I'm more concerned. Whereas before, I'm like, I'm gonna put on some jeans and a blazer and keep it pushing. That's good enough for me. But I gotta match his fly,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
girl. You got to match the fly and the flow.
yes.
But it's interesting. My son-in-law is the same personality style as Ed, my oldest daughter's husband.
Mhm.
And when I tell you he is fly, and my daughter, we laugh all the time because she says he's been working from home for years. He's a
Mhm.
lawyer, and he's been working at home for years. And she says he gets up and he dresses in a suit and everything as if he's in the office,
Girl, let me tell you,
completely
Ed
dressed.
could be so just for your show, he puts on his cologne. I'm like, babe, Cameron cannot
Can't smell
smell
you.
you. But that doesn't matter. It makes him feel good. It
I
makes him
love it.
show up as his best self. And so that's who he is. And I just love me some him. He
So,
cracks me
so
up.
let's talk a little bit about like what are some of the common challenges and or conflicts that arise in blended families?
Oh, I think one of the first ones is discipline.
Ah,
Who is going
oh,
to discipline
yes.
the kids? As a biological parent, are you going to step aside and allow that step parent to discipline? To what extent?
Yeah.
That is a difficult piece of it, because as the biological parent, I mean, as a mom, you know how we are about our
Yes.
children, right?
Mama bears.
Mama bears. And so there were times when and Ed shared this, on the show, that he comes from a military background. He's Jamaican. He's very, strict. He's very structured. And
Yeah.
so sometimes his delivery is not was not seasoned with grace the way I thought it
Yeah.
should be. And
Yeah.
so it was difficult for me to step aside and allow him to discipline or speak to the kids, because I'm just like, no, that is not going to work. And so
Yeah.
I had to come to a place where I realized that when I stepped in the manner that I was stepping in, it was disrespectful to him. And it caused a certain division in the household, right? That it's mommy
Yeah.
kids against stepdaddy. And so we had to talk about how we were going to manage that and handle that. And one of the things that Ed did, he began to step back as the disciplinarian. That's what worked for us.
Yeah.
That, you know what, I'm going to step back as a disciplinarian. You're going to step forward, and whatever needs to be said or done, I'm going to do it through you until I get an opportunity to really build a more solid foundation with the kids. I think we came
Yeah.
in with a hammer. Um,
Right.
this is your stepdad. He has all the rights and privileges and
He
everything.
pays the mortgage.
And
Till you pay bills, you don't have anything to say. Yeah.
that was not it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
Well, I
was
can tell you, I remember listening to years ago on the radio, one of the talk shows I used to listen to. I mean, it was talking about, especially as a Christian, it was saying that the family dynamic was not supposed to be a divorce, right? And blending of families.
Mhm.
And so, what the structure really was God, the two of you, and then your children. So,
Mhm.
when a divorce happens, it goes out of kilter. It becomes God, you, the children.
Mhm.
So then when the man comes back in the picture, you're trying to shuffle that the same way and it doesn't work the same. So it really is better for you to manage your children and for them to manage their children.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And
it's really interesting.
yeah, and I'm so glad you brought that point up, because I'm going to tell you, one of the biggest mistakes that I made when I got remarried was I, exactly what you just talked about, right? It's God, it's my husband, it's me, it's my kids. But when you are in a blended family, it cannot be that black and white all the time.
Yeah, it's
It,
so
it just
hard.
can't, because you know
Yeah.
what? It gives your children this perception that your husband is more important than they are.
Yeah.
And while I agree that the marriage relationship mirrors the relationship that God has with his creation, and it is the most important relationship ever,
Right.
that does not mean that the parent child relationship is any less important. And I think
Yeah.
sometimes we try to create this space that says, listen, you're not as important.
Yeah.
And we have to be so careful, because that message is detrimental and it's damaging, and the
Yeah.
effects are lifelong. We
Yeah.
can't always come back from that. And so
Yeah.
Ed and I always say this: if we knew then what we know now
Yes,
about
ma'am.
marriage and what God intended,
Yeah.
we would not be a blended family, because we
Right.
would have stayed
Right.
in our marriages. But the more you grow and the more you learn, you begin to apply it. And so, here we are, and we've made some mistakes, and we've, asked God for forgiveness, and we're asking him to cover our children and
Yes.
protect their hearts, because we don't want them to be so traumatized by things, from early on in our marriage, that it affects their relationships and their marriages.
And I'm glad you said that too, because we made the same mistakes, thinking that we're just realigning the family in such a way, and that the power belongs to the father, the new father in the relationship,
Mhm.
and children. Especially depending on their personalities. If you have melancholy children, which you had melancholy children,
Yes.
um, they are super sensitive,
Mhm.
right? And they watch everything you do and everything you say, and they feel some type of way. When you
Mhm.
align the family in such a way, like you were saying, they feel like, okay, that person's more important than I am.
Yeah.
See, mommy got a new man, and
Yeah.
now you listen to everything he says. You don't believe
Yep.
nothing I say, and
Yep.
and so that dynamic becomes stressed.
Mhm.
Even I have a melancholy choleric daughter. I have a phlegmatic sanguine daughter.
Mm.
I have a sanguine choleric son, my
Mm.
bonus son, and then my husband's choleric sanguine. So we have all the personality
All of them.
styles, right?
Yes.
But every personality style really responds to it differently. The choleric was, trying to go to war. You're not telling me what to do. You're not my father. That choleric was standing her ground, like, don't
Yep.
play with me.
Yep.
The phlegmatic was like, can we all just get along?
Mm.
Just please, can we just be happy? Can we get along? The sanguine was like, let's have some fun. Let's just, so every personality dealt with that blended family very
Mhm.
differently, and how they even see it today.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting. So I want to ask you some other questions too, because I know that one, we already said discipline is a major factor, right?
Mhm.
In or that can cause conflict or some challenges in the relationship. Give me another one that can really
Yeah.
impact the relationship.
So I think for me, Karen, submission was another huge one for me.
Sorry, I'm gonna have to disconnect you. We have to bring another person on the show. You said the dirty word, submission,
Listen, the cuss word, the
the
cuss
curse
word.
word,
Yes.
girl. You said the bad word.
Yes.
Excuse me, people. I will have to dismiss this particular guest.
Because we don't talk about that on
We don't
here.
talk about no submission, especially when I'm a sanguine choleric girl. Please go ahead.
Oh, Karen, I struggled. I struggled with that early on in the marriage. And I think one, I came from being a single mom with three kids, right? You got to make all the decisions. You got to pay all the bills. The buck stops with you. What you say goes. And then I married this type A personality. I'm the boss man, okay? And I'm the boss woman. So what are we going to do?
Ooh, that's a whole nother show.
Listen, and so yes, Ed and I bumped heads. We battled. There was a struggle for power.
Yeah.
Um, and I think I went from one extreme to the other. Like I came into this marriage and I wanted to be a different Debbie. I wanted to show up differently than I did in my first marriage. And in my first marriage, I was very mouthy. And so this time I wanted to be, a lot less mouthy, like Deb.
Yeah.
And I think I went from that really mouthy extreme to like silence for a while because I just didn't know how to balance it. And I think
Yeah.
that really had an effect on my girls because they watched their strong, powerful, super
Independent.
mom,
Independent.
yes, opinionated, strong willed become like this docile, okay,
Okay, honey.
yes. And
Sure, sweetie.
yes. And so it took me a number of years to find the balance. Like
Yeah.
I still have to show up as me, right?
Yeah.
It's okay that I have an opinion, right? And
Yeah.
so I think that's one of the areas that Ed and I struggled with. But it took a lot of prayer, a lot of intense communication, and definitely being in this space where we're helping other marriages
Yes.
is what began to help our marriage.
So
Um,
I'm glad you said that whole thing about submission because
mhm,
you know I remember years ago Bunny Wilson. She I think went on to glory, but
mhm,
she wrote a book about submission. And
mhm,
she came to our church and she spoke about submission in a way I had never heard it before. And it was basically talking about serving each other and and that if people said that submission means to serve your mate and whatever it means, that definition, if they were in ministry, everybody be like, oh, she's amazing, oh my gosh. But the moment you say that the wife served her husband and she surrendered, da da da, submitted to him, people
mhm,
get in the uproar about it. But the thing I think that was really interesting about that is the day that she did that whole sermon about submission, I knew that I needed to submit to my husband. Like I
mhm.
knew that that was going to happen. So I go home that day. I kid you not. And if kids are listening, hold their ears. But not really. It's not that big a deal. But I went home that day. I stopped by the grocery store. I picked up a full dinner with dessert and I prepared everything from
Mhm.
scratch. And then I bought lingerie and I thought Karen is going to be the submitted wife
On tonight.
tonight and for
Yeah.
now on, right? So I jumped head into the submission role. And I was about a month later, and I said, I can't do this. Like, what is this? I can't do it. I'm a sanguine, spontaneous, but I'm a choleric. You ain't going to tell me what to do. I don't want to be regimented. I want to do my own thing when I want to do it. And my girlfriend said, girl, I was trying to figure out how soon that was going, you were going to hit a brick wall. But what I know about me is that I will jump in the pool before I look to see if there's water in the pool, right?
Yes, yeah,
So that's what I did. I jumped in submission head first.
yeah.
I was like, so you right, sweet foxy soul, submission and personality styles. Whoo, that's gonna be a
Mhm.
whole different show.
Yeah, yeah. You know David Burrows.
Yeah,
He's a good friend
love
of
him.
ours, wonderful influencer in this relationship space. And he said, submission, he breaks down the word that submission means to get under the mission, right? And
Oh,
so
love it.
knowing that your husband has a mission and a vision for the family, for his household, and you getting behind that. But then he also said, submission is knowing that there will be times when God has to deal directly with your husband. And that gives you an excuse to kind of duck and get out the way
Right.
and let God deal with that
I
husband.
love it. I love it.
So,
Because if you don't duck, you're gonna get a punch too.
right. So wait, do you want to wear the pants and
You
get
want
the
a piece of
punch, or
that?
you want to duck and and so we think about submission and sometimes we make it into this dirty word.
Yeah, yeah,
But it's really not. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing to be submitted one to God, right? To be
yeah.
surrendered and submitted to Him. And so then when husband and wife are both submitted and surrendered to God, then serving each other doesn't seem like, a hard pill to swallow anymore.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love it. I love it. I'm gonna do one more. I want you to give me one more. But before you do, if the audience has any questions or comments, they've been making comments and I've been
I
posting them.
see.
Sweet Foxy says, "Get out of the way, duck."
Yes, yes.
Exactly. Nobody wants to get punched in the head by God with God doing it. All right. So just make sure you put them in the chat so that we can respond to it. Correct, Geneva. Serving each other works. Yeah, I always say if I serve you and you serve me, we
We,
both
we
get
get
served.
served. It's
We
like common
both get
sense.
served.
It's a win-win-win.
Yes. Okay. So give me one more of the challenges and the conflicts that could occur in a blended relationship.
Yeah. So I will definitely say, in addition to discipline, in addition to submission, finances was another big one
Yes.
for us. it took us many years to get to a place where we're on the same page when it comes to financing. And you know what, Karen, it's so important that you understand your relationship with money.
Yep.
Why do you look at money the way you do? um and I'll give you something just really, really simple. um there was a time when I would go to work and I was just spending money on food every day, just buying food, buying food, buying food. And I remember Ed is like, babe, you're spending so much money on food every day. And my thing was, I work. And so if I get hungry, I'm going to buy something to eat. And it wasn't that he didn't want me to buy something to eat if I'm hungry, but he
Hmm.
wanted me to look at it from a different lens. Okay, you
Uh-huh.
know that you're going to work, every day this week. You know that you're going to need lunch. Why not prepare for it, right? Why not pack a lunch? Why not say, okay, I'm going to go out to lunch once or twice a week? And so he was trying to get me to see and understand what it means to prepare.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I was like, I'm living for today. I'm hungry today. I'm not going to
Yes.
sit at work and be hungry. And so a lot of the money issues began to kind of resolve itself when we changed our perspective on it. And now we're on the same page with money. We're able to save, which is something that we could not do for years. We would start saving, and honey, in 2 weeks, that money would be gone.
Yeah.
Now we're able to save, we're able to put money away, we're able to, have a budget. Like, it took us a while to get there. So I would say those are just some of the top ones that we struggled with.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, awesome. So, in your experience, what role do you believe communication plays in understanding and managing the diverse personalities within your family, in your blended family?
Communication is the key. Communication is the key. It's the first thing you need, it's the last thing you need. And when I say communication, I mean communicating with everybody, including God.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, I can't, it's funny. Ed and I, we're traveling today. Actually, we traveled into Philly for a speaking engagement. And when we were driving to the hotel, we were talking about we were what were we talking about? I swear my mind just went blank. Um, we were talking about communication and, you know, help self-care. Something came on the radio about self-care, and Ed was like, what do I do for self-care? Babe, what do you do for self-care? And I said to him, my number one self-care thing is my early morning devotion with God. I cannot do anything without starting my day off with God. Like, I
Yeah.
just cannot. My devotion time is so sacred. I need it, whether I'm traveling, whether I'm not traveling. I make
Mhm.
sure I pack my prayer journal wherever I'm going, because when I get up in the morning and I spend that time with God and I write out my scripture, and you know how I do this.
Mhm.
You and I, we talk about this all the time, but I meditate on one scripture for 40 days and I write it every single day for 40 days. And so that is my one of my ways of self-care. And so when you talk about communication, it's not just that vertical communication, it's the
Yes.
horizontal communication. You have to
Absolutely.
stay prayed up. And I will tell you, the turning point for our blended family is when I got to the point where I was just sick and tired. Like, I was fed up, I was over it, I
Yeah.
was done. And I brought the family together and I said to the kids, listen, this is my husband. He's not going anywhere. And I said to him, these are my kids. They're not going anywhere. So now that we've established that nobody's leaving, what we gonna do? Because we're stuck. We're
That's
stuck.
why you got to fix it. You
Yeah.
got to fix it.
How are we gonna fix it? And I
Right.
think it was that night that we started having some really open and honest dialogue, especially the girls. JD was so small. That boy just wanted peace. He just wanted to know what is going, why y'all keep fighting? Why are you arguing? Can't we just all get along? That's what
Right.
he wanted to know. And so that's when we opened up the communication amongst ourselves as a family.
Hmm.
But communication plays a humongous role.
Well,
Humongous.
and not only that, but how you communicate with each of the personality styles make a difference too, right? You cannot communicate the same way to each personality style because they don't receive it the same. As you said, JD, he was like, listen, can we just get along? He just wanted peace in the household, calm. So the way you talk to him has to be peaceful and calm and and reassuring so that
Mhm.
he doesn't have the fear that his family's going to break up again,
Right.
right?
Right.
And then the way you talk to your melancholies, they have to know that what you're saying is true and
Mm-hmm.
honest, and
Mm-hmm.
that it's with compassion and love, and that you're thinking of them. They need to know those things. With a choleric, they just need to know, listen, give me the bottom line. I don't need a whole lot of fluff. Just what's the
Mm-hmm.
answer?
Yeah.
And with the sanguine, they need to know that their lives are going to be happy. So
Yeah.
each personality needs to be communicated in a certain way,
Mhm.
and you can't communicate with each child the same way. You just
Yeah, and it's so funny. Even as you're talking and explaining the personalities, I see each one of the children. Jaya, the oldest. Listen, let's get down to business. Tell me what I need to know so I can we
and
can
nothing else.
we can keep this train going and moving because I got things to do. Zaria is the sensitive one, but she's tough, right? She's
Yeah,
the tough one. She's the choleric.
she's probably a melancholy choleric. Is she sensitive?
She's
The choleric is
sensitive,
the no
but she's
nonsense.
tough.
Yes.
She's also like no nonsense. She will go to war. She's
Yeah.
gonna tell you what she means
Yeah.
and how she feels. And if your feelings get hurt, it's okay. You gonna be okay, but I'm gonna tell you.
You
Um,
will know the truth. Maybe
you
not
will
in love, but you'll know the
look,
truth.
and it will set you free. So yeah, all three very different personalities.
Well, before we even move on, because I want you to kind of help us have a few tips in managing some of these challenges in our blended families. But before you do that, tell people about the book you wrote about blended families and why you wrote that book.
Yes. And so our blended family book is called I'm Not Leaving, a look inside my blended family. And
Love
the
it.
reason we titled that is because of that same night that I talked to you about. You ain't going nowhere. We ain't leaving. So what we gonna do?
Right.
I did not want to write a book about my blended family.
Mm.
I did not. Ed talked about it and I said, no, we're not putting our business. No way. No, 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 no. And so I protested against this. And then we brought it to the kids. And, I said, we can't write a blended family book by ourselves, right? If we're going to do this, we're going to do this as a family. And so we brought all the kids together and we talked about it. And so everybody wrote a chapter in
Love
that.
it.
Each of the kids wrote a chapter, and then Ed wrote a portion of the book from the stepfather perspective, and I wrote a portion from the biological parent perspective. What was really interesting to me is none of us sat and talked about what the other person was going to write.
Oh,
We
nice.
kind of gave everybody
Free reign.
free range. Talk about what you want to talk about, how it impacted you.
I love
Um,
it.
when I read my girls' parts, I wept like a baby
Oh,
because there were things that my girls were going through, feelings that they were feeling that they didn't feel safe to share with me because
wow.
mommy was happy. And if I share this with her, she might not be as happy. And so they carried that. And that was hard. That was really, really hard for me to read. But I think that book was the catalyst to us healing.
Yes.
And we're still so far from perfect.
Yeah.
Some of the scars are just too deep. They're
Yeah.
too deep. It
Yeah.
takes time and space and maturity
Mhm.
for those to heal completely.
So true. Yeah,
You
because
know,
it took us time to heal too
yeah.
from some of the scars. I think we are in a great space,
Hmm.
but it took us many years to, not because I listen. The reason why you didn't want to put your business out there in the street because melancholy is a very private people. They don't like to share their stuff with people, and they're only going to share with the people they truly trust because they know that person or those people will hold their confidence,
Yeah.
right? But if you're putting it in a book, who's who's doing that?
Everybody.
Right? Who's doing that?
Yeah.
So, so the thing I think is very interesting is for me as a sanguine choleric parent, and my husband was a choleric sanguine parent. The sanguine parts of both our personality want to have fun,
Hmm.
right? We want food, fellowship, and fun. That's our three things. And the choleric is control, right?
Hmm.
And structure and strategy and things of that nature. The unfortunate thing is both of us couldn't do choleric and both of us couldn't do sanguine.
Hmm.
So I kind of resented for a while that I had to fall into more of a choleric role in raising the kids, and my
Mm.
husband could have fun and be
That's
a sanguine.
funny.
That
Yeah.
was so annoying to me. It really was. So
Yeah.
tell me, what are some tips and or strategies the listener can use to try to um, heal the blended family trauma or difficulties that they had in a relationship?
Yeah. I think number one, you have to go back to your family of origin.
Hmm.
You have to. You have to go back. I'm telling you, Karen, you have to go back to your own family of origin. What happened there? How were you parented? What did you see? What did you hear? What did you feel?
Gotcha.
What did you experience? So much of how we parent comes from back then, whether we want to admit it or not,
Yeah.
whether we're intentional in it or not, because cycles have a way of repeating itself
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
unless you are very, very strategic and thoughtful and intentional. So that's the first thing that I would say. And then number two, if you are in a dating relationship and you haven't blended your families yet, pause,
Mm.
take a breather, talk to someone who's already in a blended family, read up on blended families. We didn't do any studying on blended families before we jumped in. Like
Most people don't.
we we dove in with our whole bodies. We didn't test the waters. We didn't dip
Right.
the toe. We didn't say,
Right.
is the water cold? We said, we're going all in. And we dove into the blended family thing. And I think had we paused and took like just a minute to breathe, I think we would have set our family up for success early on. So definitely pause, talk to someone, read a book, attend a conference. Um, then I would say if you're already in the blended family and you're struggling, create a space where you can have open and honest conversation. When we
Ooh, that's
said
hard stuff, girl.
it's hard, but you
Yeah,
know what?
because really, that kind of environment, you have to make sure people feel safe enough to communicate, right?
Mhm.
And not every personality will feel safe enough. But not only that, there are personalities that don't make people feel safe
Yep.
to communicate. So I'm talking about not just their parents, but children. Choleric children I told you, will speak truth, but not in love.
Yep. Yep. And so
Melancholies are critical.
sometimes before you get to the big family meetings, you might want to have one-off meetings,
Oh,
one time with each of the children, right? How are they feeling? What are they thinking? What are they experiencing right now? And then bringing the entire family together. And this is so here's what we used to do. This is how we started off our meetings. We would all get together in the family room, and I would say, okay, everybody has to go around this circle and say three nice things to each family member. Three things that you appreciated that they did this week, three personality traits that you really admire about them. And that's how we would start off. So we kept it really positive and light and fun. And then gradually we began to get into the other things. Was there something that happened this week that caused you to be upset? Who did it? And we made it so that it was a safe space. So once we finished with that conversation, there was no retaliation.
Yeah, I love it.
Nobody was going to be put on punishment for saying anything. It was a safe space. We didn't want to dump all of your stuff on any one person. So we really, it was like share the load, right? So
Mhm.
one thing that somebody did
One thing.
with you.
Love it.
Um, and that's how we really began to open up dialogue. A couple other things that we did, Karen, that really helped us. We have family worship every night, every single night, whether you were angry or not, whether you're
Woo.
feeling or hurt or not. We had family worship. We sung songs, we read from the Bible, and then we got on our knees and we prayed together.
And Ed's a singer, right?
And, and I'm the only one who's not a singer, Karen. All the kids can sing.
Really?
All the kids can sing.
No, my oldest daughter, beautiful voice. My baby girl, I was in the car. I was like, girl, you can sing too. Like, I swear I can sing, but it's really shower singing. And it's only, maybe not even in the shower.
Listen, listen, you don't even want to know what they say about me. Okay, but I'm gonna keep singing because I love to sing.
Oh,
So
I love that family worship. I love
family
that.
worship every single night. And what we did, we would take turns. So one night of the week, Ed would lead out. Another night, I would lead out. Another night, Jay would lead out. And they were so creative. Like they came up with fun games and just different things. And those are the times that we help to draw us closer as a family.
Yes,
We also ate
yes.
dinner around the dinner table every single night when the kids were growing up. And we would eat dinner and then we would sit there for hours, hours. So these are things that we can try to implement. Everything that worked for
Yeah,
us might not work with your family, but you know what? If you don't try it, you don't know whether
that's
it's going to
true.
work or not.
That
So
is so true.
try it. Take whatever works for you and do that. We also had fun nights, family fun
Mhm.
nights, where we put away all electronics and we just had fun with our kids. We played hide and go seek in the dark. Girl, last year, our grown behind kids were down here. Guess what we played? Hide and go seek in the dark, right down here in Georgia. Um, we played JD had these electronic race cars. We would take them out in the driveway and race cars. We played freeze tag. We watched movies. We just had a family night of fun. And
I
so
love it.
yeah, and so these are things that I know our kids will instill in their own families because
Yeah.
there are things that had an impact on them. They would come home and say, "Mommy, when we tell kids that we have dinner around the table as family, some kids have never done that,
Yeah.
and so when you want something different for your family, you begin to do some
Something
different
different.
things. Yep, yep.
So let me ask you, and this will be my last question because I just think that all of that is amazing. But they had to be in structuring these things. You had to be taking into account their personalities, right? And what kinds of things they would like to do in order to pull this stuff off. Otherwise, everybody's looking at you cross-eyed.
Yeah, but and this is why we took turns. So
Yeah.
everybody got to lead out. Everybody got to do what was fun to them, what they enjoyed, and that's where you got to see the personalities coming out. So yeah, it wasn't that mommy and pops planned everything. It's that we all get to take a turn and we get to share. Um, the way that I did family worship was very okay. We're going to sing this song. We're going to read this Bible text. We're going to process it. We're going to pray and we're done. Well,
Mhm.
when they were in charge, they wanted to play games. So they would create their own little games, little Bible games, and had fun.
Yeah.
um, or or who wanted to do charades and act out different things. And so that's how their personalities were able to shine. We didn't keep it structured in only one way. It was many different ways, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Thank you so much. Debbie, you represented the Smiths very well. Your brother will be
You
so
think Ed
happy.
would be proud?
He'll be so proud of his wifey Pooh. You
Okay,
did
Miss
your
Geneva,
thing.
I see you, Miss Geneva. I see you. We're gonna tell you how to purchase the book right now.
Yeah, go ahead and tell us all about how they can not only, because you guys got great stuff going on. Like, is the Dubai trip, is that done? Or
So it's so funny, Karen. Right before I came on here, our travel agent posted that there were two spots left for
for
Dubai.
Dubai?
Two spots. So I just shared it on my Facebook. Two spots left. It's not too late. If you want to go to Dubai, reach out to Mike One Travel. You can find all the information on my page on Facebook, or you can go to our website. We just redid the website, y'all. So go check it out. www.meetthesmiths.org. www.meetthesmiths with an S.org. Our books are there. Our Dubai trip is there. The monthly engagement that we have going on here in Atlanta is there. You can contact us there. And so all roads lead to meetthesmiths.org.
And that's how they can get everything, all your products or whatever.
Yeah.
That's so exciting. Now, the book is called what for the blended family again?
It's called I'm Not Leaving,
I'm
a
not
look
leaving.
inside my blended family.
Yeah, I'm not leaving. I'm not going nowhere. So get it together, folks.
Listen, we got to work this out because we
Right,
stuck.
because ain't nobody going nowhere.
Nobody's going nowhere.
But also, because Ed was here a couple of weeks ago to talk about your new book, really quickly tell people about the new book who missed that episode.
Yes. So our newest release is called A Journey to a Better You. It is a 40-day journal. Every day we have a different thought, a different food for thought, a different scripture, a different prayer, and a little area for you to just write your thoughts. I'm a big, big, big journaler. And so it has helped me to process. A lot of times we find that couples come to us and they're so focused on what their partner is or isn't doing. And so this is pause. Don't think about what the other person is doing, what they're not doing. Let's take a look inside. Let's look at me, who I am. How am I showing up? What am I doing? How am I feeling?
Yes.
So that we can process and become the best versions of ourselves so that we can become better spouses.
Well, I'm gonna tell you that book is going to sell out because you got a limited edition amount of copies.
Yes.
You got over 200 people coming to Dubai, so that probably
Yes.
sell out before you can blink. And so, if you want a copy, you better put in for it now so they can get you your copy before they hit Dubai.
Yes, yes. And
But
we will personally sign them for you and put them in the mail for you. So
I
go ahead
love it. I love
to the
it.
website and you can purchase the Blended Family book. You can purchase A Journey to a Better You. You can purchase The 5-Star Husband and Wife, which is another amazing book. I'll come back and talk about that one.
Yep.
They're all there.
Thank you, Debbie, so much. I appreciate you more than you will ever know. I know we had a little bit of a scheduling conflict, but you brought it in for the Smith team.
Yes.
Anything you need from the Smiths, you will get from meetthesmiths.org. That's meetthesmiths.org. So I thank you, Debbie, so much for being here. If you want to know more about your personality style, you want to understand more about what I do as it relates to the personalities, that's personality coaching, or training or speaking, you could go to my website, beyond2llc.com. That's BEYONDTWOLLC.com. So you can get more information. Join us again next week at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Personality Speaking, where the tea is always hot. Thank you,
Always.
guys, and good
Thank you.
night.
Good night.
I love you all. Thank you, Deb, again.
You're welcome.